All right, everybody. Thank you for joining for another episode of Simply Finance with Shane White. I'm stoked today to have the CEO and founder of Joy Milk Tea, Max Blessen. Max, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you taking the time to come on. First of all, for anyone watching on YouTube, this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can really see this with the camera and the light.
It's a little bit of a glare.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't really. Thank you for
There you
dropping
go.
these off, by the way.
You're
Fantastic. So I
welcome.
wanted to put one on here. Do you mind giving everyone just a little bit of a download and a little bit of an intro to you, yourself, and then obviously the brand?
Yeah. So I'll keep me pretty general. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is maybe my fourth or fifth business. I just can't stop. I think at the root, I think at the core of it, I think I just love creating. I posted a tweet about this the other day. I just love sharing. And
Okay.
I can't think of a better industry for me to be in than CPG because it's literally my job to share products with people.
Yeah,
And in
yeah.
this case, it's my product, but being able, I know we talked about this a little bit, but being able to hand the product off to someone and see their reaction, I love it. I can't, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is maybe my fourth or fifth business, and I'm absolutely in love with the CPG space. So
Yeah, I would agree. I think I've said it on the podcast before. I've definitely said it in person to a bunch of people, but there's something about being able to like literally just hand your product to a consumer. And I always give the story. I think I told you this in person, just being able to be on a flight. I remember being on a flight with our X bar and, giving out bars on the plane to people and explaining what it is and why it's good for you to eat. And that's just such a fun thing to be able to do with potential customers that you can't do if you sell, my first job, we were in the business of selling engines. So definitely couldn't bring those along on a plane.
yeah, this morning actually, I was hitting a store, just doing a cold selling. Walked in, handed the product to the person at the cash register. She happened to be the buyer. I told her to crack one open, and just watching her face light up is just it's amazing. It's
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah,
So you just walked
yeah.
in and the first person you accidentally ran into was
I,
the buyer. That's pretty ironic.
yeah, it was interesting. I walked in, asked her a couple questions about what products move the best in the RTD space. She gave
Yeah.
me a couple answers, and then told me, "Oh yeah, I'm the buyer." Oh
Oh, that's
great,
cool.
I got some product in the truck. You want to try it?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
fantastic. Good for you, man. I guess that's a good entryway into so the company that we're talking about today mostly is called Joy Milk Tea. But before we jump into what Joy Milk Tea is, would love for you to just give an intro. You said at the beginning, you're a serial entrepreneur. What are some of the other ventures you've done? And as we talk about Joy Milk Tea
Oh
specifically, I
man.
think it's interesting to see how you've like evolved through different ventures.
Yeah. So I think my evolution is mostly like, what did I learn in each business? Because there is no like train track for my path. So it
Sure.
started with consumer tech, right? So I had an idea in college for an app. Don't really want to get too much into it, but learned how to code, built it all, launched it, failed to monetize it, right? So I learned,
Okay.
and that one I pretty much learned how to pick myself up by my bootstraps, get going, don't rely on anyone else, you can do it.
Right.
Then the second business was I started a seafood import export business, and I was
Oh,
doing yeah, it's,
didn't know that
it's
one.
huge pivot. Yeah, huge
Yeah.
pivot. Basically, I cold called like 300 distributors in the country, selling fish that I pretty much didn't really have. I was trying to see if I could make a sale, right?
Got it.
Uh, I did. We found some fish in Brazil, started making deals, and now we were in the brokerage game. And in
Oh, so
that
you were like
business,
selling before you had the product.
yeah, I basically decided one day that I think I can sell this. I think I can do this because I think the paychecks were big. I would make like 8 to 10% brokerage commission just by
Wow.
making few phone calls on like big ticket items, right? So like a tuna is like anywhere from $2,000, $3,000, depending on the size, quality.
Wow. Oh, I
So
didn't know that. Really? Okay.
yeah, yeah, and if you're selling 10, 15 tons of fish at a time, you
Some
can make a
serious
nice check,
cash. Yeah.
right? So in that business, I really learned But the next business was more in the family with tea. So I did True Security, which is basically an online platform. And that in that business, you know, really learned how to scale something. And I guess, yeah, how to scale.
Yeah.
And then from there, landed in Joy Milk Tea, kind of
Okay.
by coincidence.
And just you cut out a little bit, so I was going to go back for the seafood business. What was kind of the reason of getting out and moving on? It sounds like, you know, right away hearing like you made a decent amount of money on each deal. So what was like the reason, I guess, jump out?
Sure. I was pretty naive in business at the time. And I think that there was a lot of risk, credit risk and cash flow risk. Basically, I wasn't getting purchase orders for anything. So
Oh,
I was just,
okay.
handshake deals. I'd have, 5 fish coming in from Croatia valued at like, I don't know, $15,000-$20,000. And then buyers would back out at the last minute. And now I'm sitting with a tuna.
Nope. Do we lose you? Might be having a technical difficulty.
I,
Oh, hold on. I think we lost you there for a second, Max.
I just moved inside.
All good, man. All good. There we go. I said we might be having some technical difficulties. So we're back. Max is inside. All right. So you're talking about basically the cash flow issue. So you were bringing tons of fish in, but not necessarily having a contract to back up your order, which makes sense.
Yeah, I was just young.
Yeah.
I wasn't making good decisions. I was just making, trying to just make moves constantly.
Yeah. Did you get burned pretty bad at one point?
I did get burned once. That was the one that really soured it for me and made me think about getting out.
I feel like
And
it's one of those
also-
businesses you can't get burnt too many times early on either, right?
No,
unless you had
yeah.
more cash to borrow.
Exactly. No, and we didn't. So, I was fresh out of college, in college and like right at the end.
Okay.
So
Got it. Okay. So you got out of that one. Then you're in the security business. And then I guess then we can fast forward a little bit to Joy Milk Tea. Give everyone maybe a little bit of a background, like what is Joy Milk Tea first off?
Sure. So Joy Milk Tea is a ready to drink milk tea product. We use natural, all natural ingredients, no artificial stuff, no natural flavors or artificial flavors. The concept, I'm not the inventor of milk tea. Milk tea is something that has been around for centuries, right? It's an extremely popular drink in Asia. And the idea here is that we're just going to bring this kind of beverage with a rich culture and a rich history and bring it to America and position it kind of differently. I know right now a lot of your listeners probably have heard or have had bubble tea before.
Mm-hmm.
So our product is similar to that, but I don't like comparing it to bubble tea, but it's like bubble tea without tapioca, less sugar, real tea, and think of it more like a morning coffee. That's the best way to think about it.
Got it. And I know I laughed because you were kind enough to bring some over to try, and we had talked before, and I've heard of milk tea, and then for some reason until you like eloquently explained what it was to me in person, I didn't put two and two together to understand like, oh, like, when I have my morning coffee, I mean, I drink it black, but a lot of people put milk in their coffee. And then this is basically, instead of coffee, you're putting milk in tea. I'm like, oh, that just duh. Like,
yeah, it's the
I feel like an idiot.
The natural extension. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
natural extension of tea products in America. And it's completely missing. And I think it's there. I mean, there's nothing that gets me more excited than this category. It's so ripe for just exploration here in America.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like on the podcast with this founder series, I love to go, how he went from 0 to 1. And so it sounds like was milk tea in general, I know it comes from Asia, you knew about it. Was it something like you had enjoyed at home, like homemade milk tea? Or how did you like, you know what I mean? Like, how did you go from like knowing what it was to like actually like, I love milk tea, and then creating your own? That seems like a big jump.
Yeah, for sure. So I've had milk tea ever since I was a kid. Not a lot, because usually when you go get milk tea, it's really sweet. So
Okay.
it's more like a treat. It's not something you feel good about drinking every day. Um, but I actually had never made it before until I got the idea.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty wild. I have a little book. It's got like hundreds of different recipes and formulations that we basically tested in my kitchen. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, I've liked it my entire life, and I have like a pretty specific, palate. I look for some, I like things that have more of a mature flavor profile.
Okay.
So it was hard to find something that wasn't just sweet all the way through, because most
Right.
milk teas are just a sugar bomb. So when we formulated Joy Milk Tea, the idea was let's really focus on making something that has a mature flavor profile similar to coffee. And that really
Ah,
meant, yeah, that really meant using real tea, getting as many of the tannins and that bitter astringency as you can out of it, and then not over sweetening it. So those three things together create something that's really unique that you can't really find even in ethnic milk tea products. So
which is
it's definitely something that stands out.
yeah. And when I first took a sip of it, I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, I just hadn't tasted anything like it. It's so interesting to me that, you know, someone hadn't brought it over and there weren't like really like anything like this. It is like without trying it yourself, if you're listening or watching this, it tastes, it's really good. Number one, you can tell it's not full of sugar, which that was the first thing I liked. And I had never tasted anything like it. It was like a whole new taste to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at the very beginning, I got kind of trapped in, okay, let's go find milk teas, taste them, and then see if we can make something close to that. So I did
Oh
that
yeah.
for like a few weeks. And then I realized, like, hey, I'm not trying to create something that mimics other people's products. I'm trying to create something new as an expression of myself and what I think other people's might want. So I got out of that kind of loop real fast. And I think that's really important when you're creating a product. Figure out exactly what you want to create and don't just try and copy other people. Specifically with milk tea, there isn't really anything to compare us to. So we have kind of the opportunity to pioneer this new category.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. You definitely do. I mean, for someone like me who's never had anything, you're like the first version of a product like this for me. So I totally get that. So go from making it in your kitchen, and we've heard lots of people explain on here kind of like that jump to obviously producing a finished product. As we chatted in person, and we've had a few people on here who are in the ready to drink category, like a canned drink, to everyone who doesn't know what that means. um how was there like stages in between, like, okay, you got the idea, you think it's a good idea, you're messing around with it in the kitchen, did you like have a recipe, or do you remember the first time you like made the recipe that was in this can today? And then what was like the next step? Like, what did you try to do next to actually like put it into a product to sell?
Yeah, so here are the steps. I listened to a bunch of podcasts like yours.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, specifically one with on how I built this with Peter Ray Hall,
Love it.
and that just it got me in gear, right? That got me after I had the idea. I listened to that podcast. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start making milk tea. Basically, a week or two after I made the first formula, our perishable one that was in the glass container, that's
Yeah.
how we started. Uh, I took it to a farmer's market and just tried selling it.
So
I
at that
was,
stage, were you bottling them at home?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. No label, just in the
Just a
glass
sticker.
can. Yeah. Um, and I actually got denied from the farmer's market, and I basically drove down to the Chamber of Commerce and begged them to let me in.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah, so I mean, if I didn't get in, I don't know, I don't know what I'd be doing because that
What?
farmer's market was invaluable.
Why did they not want you to sell your product at the farmer's
Oh,
market
because I was
originally?
like 2 months late for registration.
Got it. So you just kind of like showed up and were like, "Hey, I'm ready to sell here."
Yeah,
But see,
and they were
that's
like,
funny
"Hey,
too.
you,"
Like, probably most people don't know that if you've never sold at a farmer's market. I wouldn't
yeah,
know the first step in selling at a farmer's market.
yeah, me neither. I mean, I just said, okay, I need a table, I need a tent, and maybe some signage.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
so I took it there, and we did surprisingly well. I think I was really nervous. Like our first couple customers, um, I remember really clearly, like the second week we went there, I saw similar faces. And that, the first week we sold like maybe 50 or 60 bottles, nothing crazy.
That's still,
Um,
I mean, if you think about like you've never sold one and
yeah,
then you show up and you do 50 or 60 though, that's pretty impressive. That's gotta feel good. I mean, even that first, do you remember that first day?
I do. And they weren't good feelings. They were
Okay.
nervous. They were, I don't know if people are going to like this. I didn't have samples at the time. So I was hard pitching people to buy it on the spot without tasting it.
Oh,
I,
wow.
yeah, I was like, I'm going to sell this milk tea. I was just in hard sales mode.
Well,
Um,
that's actually more impressive to me than having samples because then you've never sold it, number one, and two, you didn't have a sample for people to come by and try, so they're paying what I don't know
yeah.
what it cost back then, but that's probably a pretty hard sell.
Yeah, it was kind of a hard sell. And I remember when I went home after that, I'm like, hey, I need samples. What am I doing here? People need to taste this. So I learned quick. And the next week I didn't have samples. The next week I started seeing customers come back. And that
Okay.
gave me a lot of confidence, right? That was like the validation to me that, hey, this doesn't only taste good to me. This message doesn't just resonate with me. This message resonates with others, and they enjoy the product. Um, so that second week gave me a ton of confidence. And then the week after that, I started bringing samples. And that's when I think we really took off at the farmer's market. Um, if you go to a farmer's market, I cannot recommend a better thing for a CPG company to do. You have to do something like this because the lessons you learn are just so crucial. When I started doing the samples, I was getting every single person that walked by to taste this product because I was high on confidence, right? I was
Sure. Oh
like,
yeah.
hey, I got return customers. I got people coming back telling me they love it. So now I'm thinking every single person that walks by my booth is trying this product. And that mentality really helped a lot of people get behind it. And a lot of people tried it. And we started selling more and more every week. To the point where we were filling up fridges. I had massive coolers I was bringing with.
And at this point,
Um,
did you have a website or did you have anything else, or were you just selling at the farmer's market? Do you remember?
I think maybe I had a basic landing page that I built.
Okay.
Nothing like a direct to consumer or anything.
Got it. Okay.
Basically, yeah, very minimal web presence. Mostly just that small audience at the farmers market.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And so was your thought at this time, you're at the farmer's market for a bit, you're getting repeat customers. Was your thought at this point that you're going to go all in on Joy Milk Tea? I think for a lot of people who think about this, like if you have a 9 to 5 job today and you want to launch a product, for example, if this is a passion of someone listening, for you, like what was kind of that? I know you've started other businesses, so maybe for you this was a little bit different of a process. But what was if you can remember, what was your mentality kind of like as it's scaling and you're seeing repeat customers? I would love to know like when was like the day or the conversation you had with family or friends or something where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go all in on this.
Okay, sure. So the farmers market for me was really my testing zone. I decided if I can sell this, if I can make something that people will buy and that I can sell at a farmers market, that was my proof of market, seeing if this, people would be interested in this. So after I started getting these repeat customers, and then after our customers started selling our product for us to stores, that's when I was like,
Love
I'm going to
it.
focus pretty much 100% on this. I was already pretty in before, like in the early days, I was already under the mindset that I'm going to make this work no matter what. Right.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
then closer to the end of the farmer's market, when these kind of really amazing things happen, like I couldn't ask for better customers. Uh, that's when I was like, there's really something here. I'm going to really, really push, like go all in.
Got it. Okay.
I don't
Okay.
really do these analysis I just go all in. I'm usually all in at the very beginning. If I'm going,
Okay.
I'm going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean I think it's it's funny now that I've talked to a decent amount of entrepreneurs, I think that's a pretty common characteristic of a successful one is like
Yeah.
you kind of don't overthink it. You know what I mean? Like I probably
I'm
came up with
sitting
that
here.
question because I am the overthinker in a lot of situations,
Yeah.
but a lot of people who tend to start businesses kind of like are like, no, this is a great idea. I'm going all in. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to tell you like, oh, there was a measured approach, but I think in reality it was, I just pretty much jumped head in real fast.
I love it.
So
You're
yeah,
passionate about it and you believed in it, right?
I do very much.
So that's exciting. And to kind of back up to give everyone like a frame of reference, this farmers market was in Chicago, right? Was it downtown
Yeah,
Chicago? That's where I know that's where you're
Wicker
based out
Park.
of, obviously. Yeah, Wicker Park. Okay, so cool. So you're scaling it at the farmers market. What was
And we
next?
have labels. We have
Oh,
labels
you got
now.
labels.
So
Okay, that's
yeah,
good.
so we got labels and we got two SKUs. We got a dairy version and a dairy free. And I think we should touch on this real quick. The product is designed to be pretty inclusive, right? There's everyone has like different allergies and things like that. We want everyone to be able to experience this product. So the idea of limiting it to only a dairy version was out of the question. And with a dairy-free product, we really are pioneering that too. I mean, we're already doing milk tea in America, but now we're doing dairy-free milk tea in America, which is pretty cool. Um,
Is it still?
so I want to.
This is a very dumb question for someone who's not good at food science. Is non-dairy still considered milk tea? Can it just be? Is it non-dairy
Oh, from a
milk? I
legal
guess.
perspective, or
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I guess. I guess there's like tons of other teas, right? Or milks. I mean, there's almond milk, there's oat milk. So yeah, I guess I answer my own question. So you can have a
I'm
non-dairy
gonna call
version.
it milk tea, but
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah.
yeah, got it. Okay, that makes sense. It definitely is because there's
So
different versions. I answered my own question.
yeah, so at this point we got labels, we got two SKUs. We're at the farmers market, we're scaling, we have our customers selling our product in the stores for us. And then that was our kind of natural transition from farmers market to wholesale. My
Okay.
original
Yeah.
plan was launch DTC, but the wholesale demand was growing faster. So around this time, I did both wholesale and launched the direct to consumer business. And this period of time was we pretty short, but really fast. Like it went by really fast. I think it lasted maybe 3 or 4 months of me making milk tea in a commercial kitchen.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
much, yeah, like, I mean, full-time job. I can't even imagine. Okay, so we have these massive pots, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking, I forgot the actual volume, but I'm brewing hundreds of gallons of tea. It's taken
Just at one
hours.
time.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
gotta
it's
be that
taken,
had to be cool, like the first time you're making that much of it. Going from
yeah,
like in your
listen,
kitchen right to that.
yeah, I'm extremely nostalgic about it, but I mean, we had these massive pots. We were taking up I'm in a commercial kitchen and there's like fridges in there, right? We're taking up all the fridges with milk tea to cool them overnight. So we had a crazy operation going, but at this point, we're making a lot of tea and I'm starting to see the road ahead of us, right? I can't grow this anymore out of this kitchen.
Okay.
And I had always known that we needed to get shelf stable. We needed to find a commercial co-packer. It was one of the first things I thought about when I started the business. But at this point now, that's when we started working more actively to achieve that goal of shelf stability, which, I mean, that is the holy grail for a business like ours. Without that, you can't scale. Well, I shouldn't say can't. It's very difficult to scale wholesale with a
Okay.
perishable product.
Got it.
And also, I mean, direct to consumer, people were, people were paying for shipping, and cold chain shipping is very expensive, right? We
Yeah.
had 8 pounds of ice in there, a 12 by 12 by 12 box. It was
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
I'm
big
sure that was
thing.
an expensive order. Just to get one order was a lot.
I mean, yeah, people really wanted the product. So me seeing people respond so well online, plus this traction we were gaining in wholesale and retail, that really lit a fire under me to get the shelf stability, what that can that you have
Got it.
done.
Right. Okay. So at this point, I mean, when you think back, I mean, I know obviously like lessons are learned and whether it was the right decision or not. Do you feel like going from farmers market to then a wholesale D2C site, was that in hindsight like a really good decision as like the next jump? And you kind of hinted, you said something about you had consumers kind of almost selling for you in retail. So maybe if you could jump into both of
Yeah.
those, it'd be cool to understand like your thought process as you scaled.
Yeah. I got to tell anyone who's listening to this that's thinking about CPG, go to a farmer's market, take your product, and don't be shy. It is by far the best thing you can do in this business, in my opinion, so far, from my experience,
Yeah.
because you just learn so much. And I remember, I mean, this makes me really emotional when I think about it, but I had people at the farmers market, they would come up to me and say, "Hey, I know this is your baby, but it feels like my baby too, because I've
Oh,
been here
wow.
since the beginning."
Yeah.
And finding those people is just, it it removes any doubt that you could possibly have on your journey of building a CPG brand. It completely erases it, because you know that you can find these people, you know they're out there, you know why they love your product. So farmers markets, definitely very happy I started there. I'm very happy for the Wicker Park Chamber of Commerce who helped me. They let me basically register 2 months late.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shout out to
and
them.
yeah, shout out to them. And then, yeah, I think the natural progression getting into stores, because that's a whole different thing, because I'm not there. I can be pretty aggressive at the farmers market, getting people, it was a whole production. I was waving people down, right? So I can be a little aggressive, a little persuasive, but it's a whole different ball game in a store, because you're not there. The product needs to speak for itself. So that's when packaging, aesthetics, packaging design, all that stuff comes into focus much more. And then also figuring out why people rebuy, why people repeat purchase, which also is, that's packaging, that's product, that's your messaging, that's all bundled together. So you learn that. You have kind of a little bit of a head start from the farmers market to get onto shelves. So that's a whole different ball game. And then it's also a little bit of a different ball game on direct to consumer as well, because they don't have the experience of being able to hold the bottle, which I know it sounds
Hmm.
small,
Yeah, you're
but
right.
when you have it, it's a whole different experience compared to just seeing it through your screen. So those three channels, I think the progression we went through was perfect.
Got it. Yeah.
And it
No,
was just
it
by
sounds like it.
chance. It was by
Sure.
necessity, right? I'm not like a strategic mastermind. I didn't do this like, okay, we're going to do here, this X, Y, Z. This just was all necessity, which I
Yeah.
think is the real, that's the beauty in it.
Definitely. No, and it sounds like you kind of just figured out step by step early on how to go from, I would say 0 to point 0.5 maybe.
Yeah.
So then from there, you're selling it out of a glass container. And then what are some of like the first retail accounts you were getting?
You cut out a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. I was saying you at this point you're in the glass containers. You haven't switched yet. So at this point you're getting some retail accounts too. What were some of the early retail accounts that you were able to get?
So we were in a bunch of different stores, like Natural Boutique. Having a little internet trouble
Oh, you're good.
again. So we were in a bunch of natural boutique stores like Foxtrot, got us in the grocer, Olivia's Market. And mainly these were stores that our customers told us to go to. And
Oh,
some of them were actually stores that our customers basically sold us into,
oh, that's
harassing
awesome.
people on social media. Yeah. Um, I mean, it wasn't like a wide presence, but it was significant enough, for me to handle. I mean, it was as much as I could handle at the time.
And I mean, something like Foxtrot, you and I chatted about this before we were recording. That's a huge, that's like one of those places. I haven't been to a Foxtrot in other cities, but in Chicago, I mean, that's like, you can go to these, they're like little, like almost like high end C stores. And I always used to go when I was working in the city, and you could just go and look at the shelves and kind of see like some emerging brands that are like on brand with like what culture's kind of heading towards. I thought it was always cool. You can always kind of see up and coming brands. So
Oh
I'm sure that
yeah,
was
I mean
huge.
these stores, especially Foxtrot, they are on the cutting edge of kind of the retail experience, and I think that a lot of stores are going to be moving towards this kind of like grab and go, more casual grocery experience rather than this big elaborate store.
Yeah,
I mean, we're going to see a lot more of these opening up. I think Foxtrot's doing amazing. I think their concept's great. It's the perfect store for a product like ours.
definitely. Oh yeah. So then going from that, now that's like getting into retail. What was like early on, obviously we talk a little bit about finance on here. We've had a few other, beverage brands on here. They're expensive, and that's one of the things you and I chatted about again when we met up in person. What was like some of the hurdles early on, especially as you moved, and we can get into it, but when you moved to this like new packaging and the shelf stable product, a lot of cost goes into canning any product. So like, what were some of the early hurdles as you were trying to like make that leap from commercial kitchen to co-man? It's like
Oh
I know
yeah.
it's a huge jump for anyone who is interested in the CPG world.
Yeah, this is the big one. This is the thing that you have to plan for, you need money for, you need to have a lot of confidence because once the product's made and it's to spec, you got it. You're paying for it. It's
Yeah.
done. So
And
this
there's
is
minimum order runs, right? And minimum
yeah,
order
there's minimum
quantities or
order
whatever.
quantities,
Yeah.
there's time. Yeah. So uh some of the big hurdles. So the first is formulation. So this product that I made, to that I made in a glass container, we put that in a can just by itself and tried to make it shelf stable, and it was awful. It was terrible
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, it was really bad because what happens is that we need to basically sterilize it with heat. And so imagine you're cooking this product for however long you're cooking it above 200 degrees, you're really altering the flavor profile. And so the first biggest hurdle was this.
Oh, wait, sorry, and sorry to cut you off, but that's what makes it shelf stable? Is you're actually
Right.
cooking and like heat sealing it almost?
Yeah, you're essentially you're having like a massive reduction in microbial activity to the point where it's non-existent almost.
Got it. Never
And
knew
that
that.
that yeah, it's not like a bunch of different chemicals go into it to make it, some concoction that lasts forever. That's not, I mean, you can go that route, but
Yeah. Kind of defeats the
yeah,
purpose of being clean, right?
absolutely. But
Yeah.
heat is pretty much the ultimate tool for making these things shelf stable. And then the difference is time and temperature, how long and then how hot. And then that gives you your different thermal processing treatments. There's a
Mm,
bunch of different ways you can do this. So there's options. Um, okay, so formulation. Actually, let's go back one more. Can we
sure.
go
Yeah.
back?
Of course.
So the first biggest hurdle is finding that co-packer. There's not like you can Google it, but that is only like 5% of what's out there. I mean, these companies, they don't like advertise because there's not like a million of me trying to come up with a product. So you really have to do some digging. You really have to know what you're searching for. And all these co-manufacturers, they have their own specific lines that fit specific packaging formats that can do specific products. And it is all very overwhelming for someone new.
Oh, I bet.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, for example, here we wanted to do the glass bottle, right? So we had this square glass bottle. It was really beautiful, actually. A lot of people loved it.
Yeah, I
And
actually really like that square, but it looked really cool on Instagram.
yeah, and I was super excited. I was like, we got to keep this glass bottle. But what's called a low acid product, so it requires a really high level. It's a really specific shelf stability process, and the co-packers that had that thermal processing, they couldn't run square bottles. And then the ones that I could find that do run square bottles, they needed a lug cap. So that the type, the little screw at the top of the finish
Sure.
of the neck where you
Yeah.
screw the cap, that's different for a lot of different bottles. And they only had lugs. They couldn't do what's called a continuous thread. And so these minute little details, I learned real fast that when you're creating a product, you have to consider all these different things: packaging format, your thermal process, where are you sourcing the ingredients from, all these things, because that will affect what co-packer you go to. And that co-packer may affect what things what you can put in a can or what you can put in a glass bottle. It's very highly
Wow.
specific.
So is it
Yeah.
kind of just a test and learn? Like you gotta kind of have to interview a
Uh,
ton of places and ask a lot of questions
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
You look
actually move
stupid for
forward
a
and
little bit.
fail probably.
Yeah, you gotta ask some questions and look stupid for a little bit, or you can Google. Just Googling is your best friend.
Okay.
Um, do as much Googling as you can, but make phone calls quickly because if you find a nice person, they can kind of give you the roadmap. I actually called. There was a director at the University of Wisconsin-Madison of their dairy program, and she was actually one of the first people I called, and she was so nice. I mean, she spent an hour with me, at least, maybe more, and she walked me through everything I needed to know about canning or however I wanted to process and stabilize milk products.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So see, that's
yeah,
fun. That's a good tidbit for people listening. I mean,
Yeah.
You decided to
And
go and give that person a call, and
her number was
didn't
on the
know.
website. I gave her a call and she was just so nice. She actually, I feel like she couldn't have been more excited to talk to me, because now it's like someone really cared. I really cared. I needed to know this information. And she picked up on that. And just the conversations we had were so natural. And she was really excited to help me. So
That's
if you
really
can
cool.
find someone, that maybe in that academic space, they're invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. They probably, I doubt they get a ton of calls from people trying to
Oh,
make
yeah.
a milk product, right? I mean, that's probably not a super common thing to then get reached out to. So she was probably really psyched for the
Yeah.
opportunity to like help someone who's trying to create a product. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, okay. So the first major hurdle is the co-packer. Second one is formulation. Um, if you if you try and get someone else to do this, you're in five figures, maybe more. I mean, you're
Wow.
in quite a lot of money. And you don't, at the very beginning, you don't know how to express your problems. You don't know how to tell someone, hey, I got a low acid product that we want to retort, and we are having troubles with, volatile compounds, right? You can't say that because you don't know it. You're just saying, oh, I want to put these ingredients in this can. Can you help me?
Yeah. Okay. That makes
And
sense.
there's a disconnect in how you talk. So if you go with this third party kind of deal, it's hard to really communicate what you want. It's hard to get what you want because the language barrier is so different. I mean, I'm sure, I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just saying for me at the
Yeah.
beginning, I didn't have the money.
Well, it's
So
expensive, right? I mean,
it's expensive.
I think this space more so than a lot of other different food products, food or beverage, it's expensive. This is like probably the most expensive part of beverages, I would imagine, is getting into like the canned co-man
Yeah.
component.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's one step bigger, aseptic. That's a whole different deal, but you're right. So where was I? So yeah, so getting this contract formulator, that's tough. We actually, our co-packer is amazing. We couldn't ask for a better partner. From the moment I talked with them, they have been like on board 100%. They've helped me with everything, to the point where I actually Googled how to, I pretty much have an honorary degree in food science. I've spent dozens and dozens of hours just reading Google Scholar articles, trying to figure out how to eliminate certain flavors and mask others. So they've helped me. I basically could write a formula down, send it to them, they'd run it, send it back to me.
Oh, wow.
Very small scale, like I'm
Yeah.
talking 20 cans. So they were extremely helpful. And if we didn't have
That's
that,
uncommon, right? Like, that's uncommon to be able to like do that much tweaking probably and run that. I always remember like, and maybe it's a totally different thing, but even at RX, whenever we have launched new flavors or new products, like that was always a huge expense because even us, a bigger company.
yeah, there's nothing in it for the co-packer. I mean,
Yeah,
they don't even know if you're going to be around 3 months from now, right? And
exactly.
they're
Yeah.
pumping out millions of products, right? And you're this little guy, you want this little order. They don't care. But we built a good relationship with them over time, and I think they could tell I was serious.
That's
And
awesome.
and I think they liked the concept, they liked the vision, and they played ball.
That's really
They
cool.
did. They went above and beyond. Yeah. So we did that process in lieu of paying someone else, right? So I pretty much formulated with the help of them, and over the course of, I don't know exactly how many pilots we did, close to a dozen. We got what you're holding now,
Got it. Love
and
it. I'll show it again.
yeah, it's actually funny because when it first comes out, right, when it's first off the line,
Yeah.
it tastes really different. And
Oh, really?
it has to sit for a couple of weeks. It almost like settles into its final flavor. So when I was
Okay.
getting the pilots back, the very first ones, I was like, wait, why does this taste terrible? I was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, you gotta let it rest, like a good steak or something.
That's really, it's like
Uh,
aging, like a
yeah,
wine.
it's like aging. Yeah. And you gotta let it rest. So it was funny. I mean, I was such in a rush, but because of this resting period, we had to formulate, run it, wait 2 weeks, taste it, then that could inform our next pilot, right? So these
Got it.
2 week lag times. Um, so we were going as fast as we could during that.
Got it. That's really cool. I mean, and so if we fast forward a little bit, so that, I mean, that's, I have to imagine one of your biggest hurdles. Now you have a shelf stable product. one of the things I wanted to make sure we fit in and had time for was really like explaining for people who are interested and want to give this a try, like the benefit that I saw in your product versus even like a lot of coffee products. And it was, really on the back, we talk about focused energy,
Yeah.
the balance of caffeine and L-theanine. Would you mind giving everyone a little bit of a background in that? Because I drank one of these as we talked, and I went inside and I was on a call. I'm like, I feel caffeinated, but I don't feel jittery, just like you said it would. And it's so weird.
Yeah, so this is what got me real excited early on. So early on, I was trying to figure out how do we position this for people here in America. Uh, how do we make this bigger? How can we make this bigger? And when I started researching tea, I found out about L-theanine, which is an amino acid that's found in tea. And L-theanine helps your body produce this thing called GABA. Don't quote me. I mean, don't quote me
No,
here.
no.
I'm gonna
This is
get
high
into
level.
some,
Yeah.
it's very high level stuff. And what basically that does is it helps calm you down. It helps reduce kind of that jittery anxiety you get from drinking too much coffee. And it really elevates your caffeine experience to where you're more focused and you feel more energized rather than bouncing off the walls. I said, at the farmer's market, I would tell people drinking caffeine without L-theanine is like driving a car without brakes. It's just
Love
all
that.
go, and then at the very end, the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that got me so excited because I'm thinking about, what is the next wave of caffeine? Because caffeine is one of the most ingested, ingredients in the country. I mean, maybe, it's up there, right?
Yeah,
Wouldn't you
definitely.
agree?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so, so how do we improve this experience? And you see it today with other products. I think you see a lot of venture capital pushing dollars into the CBD space, and that's crossing over into CBD coffee.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like that's mixing an upper and a downer. So with us, L-theanine and caffeine, they work together in the same direction. Whereas, as CBD might be, like I said, it's an upper and a downer.
Right. Yeah, I know that was a confusing one to me when we were chatting because I was like, well, yeah, you're right. CBD kind of like calms you down and caffeine gets you up.
Puts
So
it,
I haven't had CBD coffee, but this made a lot more sense to me. I'm like, you want the
yeah,
up from caffeine, but you just don't. Sometimes you don't feel like being, out of your mind, jittery.
yeah, you want the nice smooth acceleration, not like the Tesla ludicrous 0 to 100. You want that
Right.
nice smooth ride.
Right.
And that's what caffeine and L-theanine is. So that messaging, I think, is what really helped click it for me, because people always talk about why do people want to drink your drink? It can't just because, taste is up there, but I always say people buy with their eyes, they fall in love with their taste, they rationalize with, or they justify with the ingredient label, and then they rationalize it with the price.
Oh, like that.
So
That's a good one.
right. So we got the taste, but then how does this fit into people's lives? Right. And I think that this message that we have about caffeine and L-theanine is so powerful because there are so many people just like me. When I started this, I was addicted to coffee. I was drinking a ton of it. I was suffering the side effects. And I think that a lot of people share that same feeling. And
Yeah,
a lot of people are bored with the taste of coffee as well.
definitely. Yeah. And caffeine addiction is a real thing. I might have talked about it on here. I was super addicted to caffeine about a year, right before COVID. I realized it to the point where like I couldn't stay awake on the weekends, like without taking like an espresso in the evening or like a caffeine pill, or like I was drinking coffee all the time. And I
Yeah.
didn't
And I want
realize
to
it. And I was
say,
like in the morning, it was in the afternoon, it was in the evening before going out to dinner on the weekends. So this product resonated with me when you explained that.
yeah, I want to say one more thing about this. I think that caffeine culture in America is changing. I think that, you know, the regular coffee doesn't fit our generation's work-life balance anymore. I think that before, if you look at caffeine consumption or coffee consumption over time by generation, older generations drink far more black coffee than younger generations do. And we've been kind of programmed to wake up and drink a coffee. And I think that 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 coffee is kind of antiquated in our lives, whereas before it was work, 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 right? I mean, think about your dad or your granddad. It was wake up, have your coffee, work till you're done, right? Work all
Yeah.
day. I think that our generation, the subsequent generation, we're much more liquid with our time. We're much more fluid. There is a work-life balance, and this kind of hyper awareness of like your mental state and how you're doing, that we're much more conscious of how we feel.
Yeah.
And
Makes
then
sense.
pure caffeine, I think, doesn't fit into that mentality anymore.
Got it. So you think something like Joy Milk Tea, where it's a little more of a balanced feeling, could
I
be
think in
something that's a little.
general, you're going to see a lot. I think in general, you're going to see a lot of caffeine supplemented products that have things like L-theanine or other ingredients that could be out there. I think that you're going to see a lot of that coming up.
Yeah.
I think we are a little early. I think adaptogen coffees are hitting that, but I think that's the next wave.
That's awesome. So
And
I
we're
mean, now,
naturally there because L-theanine's in tea, so it's a
yeah,
no-brainer for us. We can't change it. If we
right.
wanted to remove it, we couldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Got it. And that makes sense. And I think the other thing, as I was looking over the can, I wanted to make sure we hit on. I think it's really cool. It's something that we definitely have done a little bit at RX, but not to the scale you're trying to do it. Explain to everyone the QR code and kind of like how that's going to work as you continue to scale your brand.
Yeah. So remember that person I told you about at the farmer's market who said, this is your baby, but it's my baby too?
Yes.
It's kind of an extension of that. So this is really about taking people with us on creating the best milk tea in America. This product that we launched is great. I love it, but I always want to get better. And the can, it says we're always trying to get better. We're always
we're always improving.
Yeah, we're always improving. And that's a mindset that I never want to lose. I totally believe that if we there are products that will stay, right? Things that will be here for a long time. But I'm totally of the mindset that we should always be looking to improve our product. People's tastes change, preferences change. Just making the very best milk tea we can. So that QR code, that whole idea is to bring people on board with us on this journey of creating the best milk tea, and getting people's feedback in real time. I think is just really helpful for product development.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I mean,
And it builds brand equity. When
yeah.
people can interact with the product at this level, they are excited. They want to be a part of it. And it's not, you're not asking too much of these people. I used to call our customers and interview them and ask
really?
them why do they drink this product? Why do you love it? Have you replaced coffee? All these different questions. And you get something out of it, and then they get something out of it as well. Because now they're like on the in, right? They know the founder, they're part of Joy Milk Tea.
Right.
And that's really cool for people. And I want to scale that.
That's awesome, man. It's really cool. I mean, it's a great way to get your core consumers involved. From experience, I can say that the most diehards would love to be a part of it, especially if you're, demoing new flavors or anything like that's, I think, such a cool component of your new cans, and they look great. They look awesome. So we kind of talked through, getting to the stage you are today. Where are you guys currently located from like a distribution standpoint for people listening that want to give this a shot?
Yeah, so it's real. I mean, we're moving real fast. So we're in a couple different stores in the Chicagoland area. If you go to our website, joymilktea.com, there's a little page with stores. And then if you follow us on Instagram, we're going to be shouting out the different stores we're in. I mean, I can name a few, but I mean, it's just we're trying. This morning I was out selling the product.
Yeah, no. I was to say, I mean, the best place, if you're in Chicago, I know you're in a handful, and
if you're in Chicago, like Gaius and Grosser, Olivia's, Foxtrot's going to be taking it on soon. You just have to mix around. They're growing also, right? So they can't just plug in products like they used to. I caught them at a kind of a weird time in their transition. And then we're getting more stores every day, but definitely follow us on Instagram to see where we're going. The DTC side is launching, so for people outside of Chicago, free shipping, 6 cans. We're going to be shipping it all over the country. So that's going to be starting in June.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that was June. Okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're just waiting for boxes. We're just waiting for boxes at this point. So we're ready to go.
Got it. Well, I love that. We'll definitely be sharing that and plugging that when you guys launch that. It's going to be awesome. Very cool. for you, as we kind of like get towards the end of the hour, what would you tell people? You talked about a couple hurdles, but like if you have to think about the really going from 0 to 1, like you're at a component where I think you're at for lack of better words, you're kind of at a springboard moment where you're gonna have a new product with new packaging, you're getting distribution, you're launching D2C, like some really big things for Joy Milk Tea around the corner. What would you tell people has been the most important component of going from 0 to 1? What was like the one pivotal decision, moment, meeting, thing that you've learned so far in this journey?
Give me a second while I think about that. I'll give you a good
Give it a minute.
answer. I think that,
There can be more than one, or it could just be,
okay,
something that's memorable to you.
yeah, I think the most memorable thing was seeing people come back.
Okay.
So to put yourself in the position to interact with your customers. Never, in my opinion, never build in the dark for too long.
That's great advice,
Going,
actually.
yeah, get going, get people's opinion. You can build in the dark, you can build silently, but at some point you got to talk to your customers, and you can't be shy. I'm typically kind of a little bit of a shy person, but I really had to put myself out there for this business. And it's just that, yeah, that's the big thing. Just go do it. If you decide you're going to do this, get your product in people's hands, and also make them pay for it. Because there's
Okay.
something, this is an interesting one, because when you make someone pay for something, there's something sacred about a transaction. Okay. If I give you a free product and ask you for advice, you feel like you owe me for the value of the product. And if you're a stranger, you might say, oh, this is good, right? Something blanket. But if you pay for it, there's an expectation that you're gonna, that this is a high quality product, that you're gonna enjoy this product.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when they pay for something, money talks, right? And so when people come back and buy the product, when people buy it and say good things about it, that's how you know you really got something and no one's BSing you. So
Makes a ton of sense. Like
yeah,
you're actually going to get like no bullshit feedback from people when they
yeah,
actually pay for it. That's
exactly.
such a good little
There's
tidbit there.
something sacred and I gotta tell you
You
this.
paused and you pulled out a gem, man.
This is a funny one. When I had my first bottles, I had a little paper sticker on them, and my mom had some friends over, and I basically just walked up there. My mom's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, do you guys want to buy something to drink?" And I felt my mom thought it was so rude, but they all were very receptive, and they all paid, and they all told me exactly what they thought. Some bad, some good, and it's exactly what I needed to hear. And that's what I'm saying. There's something sacred about the transaction. So get your product sold any way you can. If that means going door to door, get it in someone's hand.
Love it.
Is what I have
So
to
it's like
say.
minimal
Yeah,
viable product and sell the
yeah,
hell out of it and get the
yeah,
feedback and pivot,
yeah,
or not pivot maybe, but tweak.
yeah.
Love it.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. That was great. There you go. You pulled out a gem. That was awesome.
Good.
The last few questions I always ask founders, because I think this is just really interesting, table stakes for anyone who's running their own business. Number one, obviously, and I know this just from being involved in the CPG industry, you have a million different things going on. You're producing the product, you're creating the product, you're selling the product, you're launching a website, you're trying to find boxes. So you've explained to everyone, like, there's just a lot of moving pieces. What do you use to organize all of the goals you
Oh,
have, daily tasks? Are you a pen and paper kind of guy? Are you an app guy? What is like your go-to for just, getting shit done?
I don't know if I want to say this on a podcast. I'm not an organized person.
You're
I'm
not
a
in the I would say the vast majority of people I talk to say
yeah,
that.
I'm a train wreck when it comes to organization. I have a natural instinct as to what's important at the time,
Okay.
and I'm able to just get after it real fast. Um, I think that, how do I manage? Okay, I manage what I need to do by what's most important. Yeah, it's not a good answer. I feel almost bad
No,
saying
no,
it. I
no.
got it.
How do
Yeah.
you, I guess maybe I'll help like dive a little deeper. How do you feel like you come to the conclusion each morning, for example, on what's important?
Oh, right now sales is most important. Sales, everything. Sales is number one over everything.
Okay.
So I wake up and it's funny because before I had the product in my hand, I had a bit of a more relaxed schedule. I was kind of in creative mode. And then once the product landed at the dock, it's like my body knew it's like, okay, it's time to sell. And I'm just like waking up way earlier, just everything is routine. I'm out there selling like immediately when I wake up. It's like I just have this natural drive, right, to just get out and sell. So that's
Got it. There you go.
yeah.
So you,
It's
but I
not
mean,
really
that
organized,
kind of
but
goes with the whole concept. I think that we started this off with, that there are some people who don't over engineer the way they do things.
yeah,
They run fast. I think there's a
yeah.
lot to
This
be
is
said by that. I know a lot of successful people who, they're not weird like me, who like keeps a
yeah.
planner and I'm like, this is
I'm
what I
not
got
the
to do
person to
today.
ask for advice on planning. I mean, I do a lot of thinking about strategy, but not about organization.
No, that's totally fine. It works for you. For you, if you had to give the audience, I always say book, but it could be book, podcast, source of knowledge. What would
Oh,
be one, book that you'd recommend for everybody?
yeah. Okay. So Thinking Fast and Slow, I think by David Kangman. Uh, I maybe got the name of the author wrong, but this is a thick book, and it really opens your mind up a lot to how your brain thinks and perceives information. And this has a lot of outlets. This goes into interpersonal relationships. This goes into marketing. This goes into product design. It's a very general book,
Okay.
and it's a great book. It's a tough read, but it's a good one. For a more easier read, something like Peter Thiel's You're the One. I
Yeah.
mean,
Great book.
as far as other kinds of content, these podcasts, like I said, without them, I don't know if I'd be doing this. So I'm so excited to do this one because, yeah, just without stuff like this kind of content, I don't know if I'd be doing this.
Well, I'm glad to hear that,
So,
man. That's cool. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think it's wild today that, anyone, it's kind of the same. I mean, I give people like you all the credit in the world to like go make something physical that's, safe, because I could go make something upstairs. I don't know if it tastes good or if it'd be safe to eat or drink.
you
For
could
you to
get
then
there.
go and, package it and sell it, it's just really impressive. So I think it's cool to see people like you. For me, I hit record and like to have cool conversations. So it's cool to be able to talk to people like you and share your brand. You know what I mean? I've tried it. I hope tons of people on here listen and try the product too. Speaking of that, the most important question and the last question I always love to ask is, um,
Yeah.
how can people get involved with Joy Milk Tea? You mentioned the website, and I'll add it to the show notes. But if you want to plug it
Mm,
again, and then yeah, how can people follow along with your journey with
yeah.
Joy Milk Tea's journey, and then people can give it a follow.
Definitely follow us on Instagram, Twitter, at Max Blessen, and website www.joymilktea.com. We're I'm not super active on Instagram. We're working to get there. I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna post. I typically, if I don't know what to say, I'm not gonna say anything. So until I really figure out that feed, we'll be more active. But Instagram, Twitter, and then our website, www.joymilktea.com.
Love it. And everyone keep an eye out for June when you launch the D2C. I'll be sure to share that out on my personal stuff when you do that.
Yep.
Get the word
And
out.
then more SKUs coming later this year. Hopefully by the end of the year, we have 4 SKUs. So
Oh, wow.
lots of new stuff coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to wrap that up, you have 2 today, right? Is that correct?
So we have one right now. We
One
have a
right now.
dairy-free one coming later this year. And then we have, people already know this, matcha dairy and matcha dairy-free coming hopefully at the end of 2021. So 4
Exciting.
SKUs total. Yeah. And I
Exciting
don't think
stuff.
we're going to stop with the SKUs. I think we're going to go crazy with the SKUs. I'm
Yeah.
not going to listen to the advice of, keep as minimal SKU, your evergreen
Sure.
SKUs. We're gonna go crazy.
And
So
is that really just because of the product, or is that just a strategy?
yeah, we're uniquely positioned because of our products, like the way it's made, like just the combination, like we can do so many different things. Whereas with coffee, like there's not that many things you can do.
Sure.
I remember we talked, just really quick to end
Yeah.
this,
No,
you and
go
I
for it.
were talking, and I gave you this statistic that like people on the app, on Starbucks's app, aren't even really buying coffee drinks.
Yeah, that blew my
And
mind, actually.
yeah. And what we're picking up here is that there's this desire for novelty and something new. And our platform, the milk tea platform, is just so uniquely positioned to make, so many different crazy things. I don't want to give too much away, but we have a lot of different flavors lined
Great
up.
teaser. I mean, I always tell people, like, for this, it would be cool to have you back on at the end of the year when you launch some new SKUs, and we can talk about all the
Sure.
craziness that I'm sure goes into bringing that innovation to life, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for all the time. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know I was difficult in trying to get you on here, so I appreciate you coming on.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. I told you it would be. It always ends up working that way. And hope everyone tries Joy Milk Tea. I'm going to have one of these tomorrow morning. You gave me a few, so thank you very much for
I've had
that.
3 today. I'm not going to have another
Oh,
one.
man. But you shouldn't be jittery, right?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm on my 3rd one. I had it like a few hours ago. I feel great. I just
There you
ran
go.
a few miles, so I'm a
Tons of.
little.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You got all kinds of good stuff going on. That's great,
yeah.
man. Awesome. Well, Max, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll talk soon, my friend.
Thank you, Shane.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
Bye.
See ya.